So I personally think
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind having legend on there.
I made
Just
that little banner for that reason, but then I was like, do you really need it?
yeah, I don't mind having it on there, to be honest, just to reiterate what it is, because people will ask.
Okay, but I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah.
But like basically what I did was I put like I closed that and I put flood watch.
Yeah.
I guess like the main.
The one thing, and I think it's a Larry thing. He always likes to put the precise time, the start and stop time, and I hate that because it's too precise. Because it's like, it's not like the weather starts here and stops here. The other thing, and
When
Steve,
there's multiple counties too that end at different times.
and yeah, and so and Steve made a good point. A lot of times when they're doing these promos for like one more weather. Technically true, then it's just, you can call it anything. I like that. I was telling them, it's like, Vanessa was trying to read that. You could just call it Debby and like, well, we gotta get, just say tropical system or something like that, something generic, you know? Yeah. Yep. Yeah, once it gets a name, I'm just stick with Debby. Everyone thinks it's a hurricane. Good evening, everybody. It's Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. We're still tracking Debby moving off to the north, but as you can see on the radar behind me, the rain is beginning to really kind of thin out and actually break up quite a bit. You can still see the circulation as it looks like the center of what was Debby is now kind of just a tropical depression or a remnant system. It's still going to be Debby for a while here with all that moisture. Is somewhere kind of north of Stanley County, heading from Troy up to the Greensboro area. The circulation is still there. The strongest weather, or the worst weather in this case, severe weather in the eastern part of North Carolina, where there's a tornado watch for parts of northeastern North Carolina all the way up into Virginia until 7 o'clock in the morning. This is a very long duration tornado watch because these bands are going to be in those areas all night long, and we've seen several tornado warnings associated with those bands. Now, the system did most of its damage earlier today as it was moving through the Piedmont of the Carolinas and western North Carolina. There's still a band of storms down in South Carolina as well as they kind of wrap around the south side of this system. But let me quickly show you some of the rainfall estimates from Doppler radar. They really are kind of all over the place, but there's a pretty wide swath of 4 to 7 inch totals. In fact, we've actually had a couple reports in and around Charlotte of 7 to 9 inches. They're a little more localized, but they certainly have seen some big time totals. For Charlotte itself, right now, as of this live stream, which is right around 9 p.m., we've got 4.24 inches of rain at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. And that is significant because that is the most rain we've seen in Charlotte since a November event back in 2020. And if you remember that, That was the COVID year, but that was the kind of the remnants of Tropical Storm Eta. Remember, we ran out of names and we had to go to the Greek alphabet. So Eta came up this way. We had 4.62. So we're possibly going to be very close to that. In fact, that's actually going to be very close to one of the top 10 wettest days on record. Currently, I think we're tied for 15th, but if you get to 4.52, that would be the 10th wettest calendar day. And this is a calendar day, so midnight to midnight, 24-hour period. The top of that list, if the folks in Charlotte who have been here for a while remember July 23rd, 1997, that was Hurricane Danny. That caused widespread flooding. The Sugar Creek had an all-time crest up until that 2020 storm with Eta. But in 1997, that train trestle in Uptown was actually undercut by the water, and that actually caused a train to derail into the Little Sugar Creek. So that was a memorable event for many folks in Charlotte. So for the rest of the overnight hours into early Friday, our main impact is going to be lingering showers and maybe a few downpours, but I really call it drizzle or mist. It's maybe a little bit of fog as well. Creeks and rivers are going to still rise because remember, especially some of the larger creeks, streams, and rivers, the runoff is going to take a while. It will take several hours for this water to run off. It goes from smaller creeks to medium creeks to large creeks, eventually to rivers. So some of the rivers will crest tomorrow and into the upcoming weekend. And with the warmer weather and sunny skies returning this weekend, something to keep in mind if you're going to be on the lakes, the area lakes this weekend on a boat, a lot of debris in the water. So watch out for tree stumps, twigs, branches, even whole trees that were washed into these lakes. So you might want to slow it down as you're going across the lakes. I think we had some video from earlier today showing some of the flooding that we've seen in and around the Charlotte area. This was a Hawthorne Avenue area, an area that does flood quite frequently, and because it does flood quite frequently, I think a lot of people think the water is just a foot deep. A day like today, that water was much deeper, and as this driver found out, you should never drive into standing water. Turn around, don't drown, because as soon as your muffler gets covered up, your car is going to stall. Dave Lyle Boulevard down in Rock Hill, this was an area that flooded quite frequently as well. We saw a lot of flooding in York County, a lot of roads closed. Unfortunately, people were still trying to go to work and school in some of this, and it made for a very rough morning commute. That's Dave Lyle Boulevard right there, kind of in front of the Target. That's an area that floods quite a bit as well. Areas in Cabarrus County saw some flooding, Stanley County, a lot of roads closed. Just remember, overnight, as the sun is now down and you come across a barrier or a barricade, do not move it, do not drive around it. We're definitely going to see some flooding. And again, some more of these creeks in and around the area that are way high right now. So in some cases, they're supposed to flood like this, and especially the greenways. I spent a lot of time in the greenways here in Charlotte. You probably ride or bike on those. Those greenways are actually floodplains. This is exactly what we want them to do. We want the water to go there and not into businesses and homes, but you need to stay off the greenway until that water goes down. And just be cautious if you are a runner, biker, walker, rollerblader, scooter, whatever. There's gonna be a lot of mud and debris on those boardwalks and sidewalks over the next couple of days. So let's take a look at the futurecast just to kind of show you what's going to happen overnight. The moisture, kind of drizzle and mist will be with us for a couple more hours, but by tomorrow morning, you see all that moisture beginning to move out. In fact, the sunshine will return. So as we go into tomorrow afternoon, we should see much better weather ahead. In fact, let's look at the hour-by-hour forecast to give you a little bit of excitement for tomorrow, because I get a lot of questions about, you know, I need to travel on Friday, or I got to get things done. Should be A-okay. We're looking at probably mostly sunny skies with some fair weather clouds here and there. Can't rule out a late day isolated shower or storm, but the chances are around 20%. But those temperatures are going to be back into the 90 to 92 degree range. And the thing I'm wondering about tomorrow is just how muggy it's going to feel, because with all of this moisture in the soil, on the ground, in the area of waterways, there's going to be a lot of low-level moisture tomorrow, so just be ready. It is going to be really sticky. We could have some feel-like readings pushing low triple digits tomorrow, and maybe even on Saturday as we start to see the heat return. So again, the latest on Debby, I'll give you the latest stats. I think we got an intermediate advisory not too long ago. I'll pull it up here, and you can see This is still the 5 o'clock advisory, was downgraded earlier, still a tropical system, 35-mile-an-hour winds. At 5 o'clock, it was 45 miles due east of Charlotte. I think right now it's probably more northeast of Charlotte by that same distance. But this is the key part to me. It's moving at 10 miles per hour. Last night and early this morning when it was just sitting over us, it was moving like 2, 3, 4 miles per hour. So it's picking up some speed, still moving a little bit north-northwest. Eventually it'll move more northeast and pick up more speed tomorrow. And you can see in 12 hours, this thing should be out of Virginia and up in the northeast, where then it will cause some flooding up in the northeast. So good news tonight, things are calming down. Please be safe overnight and early tomorrow morning. Again, if you see standing water in any roadway, do not drive into it. Make sure you turn around and go the other way. And we could start the cleanup process as we get back to maybe some normal weather. We'll keep an eye on the tropics though, because we're not done. Over the next 2.5 months or so, we're in August now, September, October. These are the peak months of tropical activity in the Atlantic. So it's a good idea to stay on guard over the next 3 months, as we're likely going to see a very active season. Even though we're on the D storm right now, something we look at, accumulated cyclone energy, is running way above average, meaning the storms we've had so far have been very active and produced a lot of energy in the atmosphere. So we're way ahead of schedule, even though we're on D, and we usually don't see the D storm until much later into August. So it's going to be a very active couple of months, and we already have another tropical wave out there, which I'll quickly show you. It's still a ways out there, but it has about a 40 to 50% chance of development right now. And you can see it out here beginning to take shape and heading towards the Caribbean over the next 7 days. So yes, we'll be watching the tropics again over the next 5 to 7 days. Hope you have a great evening. Stay safe out there. We will have complete coverage and a wrap up of today's damage and everything going on across the area from Debby at 11 o'clock after evening prime time of the Olympics. We'll see you then.
He had a quote talking about you can't outrun a dog will chase you forever. That's what he said. So, I mean, he wasn't necessarily, I won't say he wasn't a favorite, right? That people had talked about Quincy Hall being one of the guys that could take the gold in this, but it really looked like Great Britain, the guy who was running for Great Britain had him, and then Quincy was able to squeak on by.
And you know the 400